Today we are going to study different type of tissues, their characteristics and functions. This is lecture number 5. Well, dear students, we see that structural organization in animals, animal histology or study of animal tissues, branch of biology deals with the study of tissues is called histology. Which tissues is found tissue is found in a particular organ. Types of tissues, locations and characteristics of tissues are of more consideration for our study. Biomolecules make subcellular organization, and a more higher level of organization is cellular unit made of these subcellular organizations. Due to different types, shapes and characteristic features of these tissues, animal world shows a diversity. Tissues, a group of or cluster of similar cells that perform specialized functions. In other words, an aggregation of similarly specialized cells united together in performance of a particular function is called tissues. Bony tissues. Bone tissues are normal or soft tissues which have become ossified. Cartilaginous tissues. Cartilage is a type of connective tissues in which cells are within lacunae and separated by a semi-solid matrix, provide a site for muscle attachment, aids in movement of joints and provide support. Substances of the cartilage are cartilaginous tissues. Here in this slide we see human body and different tissues of the human body as shown at the right side, and at the left side we see 3 type of very important tissues, that is a smooth muscle tissues and cardiac muscle tissues and skeletal muscle tissues. We will later on study in the next slides in detail about these tissues. Okay students, connective tissues, the tissues which binds together and is the support of various structure in the body are connective tissues. Connective tissues are made up of fibroblast, fibroglia, collagen fibrils and elastic fibrils. It is derived from mesoderms of the embryo and include collagenous, elastic or mucus and osseous and cartilaginous elements. Some also include blood in this group of connective tissue. So blood is a connective tissue. Classified according to the concentration of fibers as loose and dense connective tissues. The latter have more abundant fibers than the former, elastic tissues. Connective tissues made up of yellow elastic fibers, frequently arranged or massed into the. So dear students, here is a dichotomous and multichotomous branching diagram of different tissues of the body. You can draw it and memorize very easily, detail of which is in the coming slides. Again we see that epithelial tissues, connective tissues and muscle tissues, and here we see that in epithelial tissues 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type of tissues: squamous epithelial, stratified squamous, cuboidal and columnar and glandular epithelial tissues. Connective tissues include bone, blood, ligaments, tendons, cartilage, areolar and adipose connective tissues, etc. Muscle tissues: striated muscles, smooth muscles and cardiac muscle tissues of different organs in the body of animal. Epithelials or epithelium tissues. Epi means upper and theli means nipple-like, is the covering of the internal and external free surface of the body, including the lining of the vessels, blood vessels, mucous membrane, pericardium, internal lining of the blood vessels, and other small cavities are just covered by epithelium or epithelial tissues. It consists of the cells joined by cementing substances. Epithelium is classified into types on the basis of number of layer deep and the shape of the superficial cells. We know that in the characteristic of epithelial tissues, they have ciliated apical and basal surface closely packed with no blood vessels, rest on non-cellular basement membrane, below which there are fibrous connective tissues with blood supply, from where gaseous exchange take place for these tissues to take nutrients and other essential substances, etc. Erectile tissues. Tissues containing large venous space with which arteries communicates directly. For example, these erectile tissues are found in phallus, that is penis and clitoris of human body. Extracellular tissues. All tissues and plasma and its components, extra and intracellular fluid volumes included in these tissues. For example, collagens, bones, and other connective tissues of the body framework and viscera are extracellular, included in extracellular tissues. Ligaments and ligamentum. A band of fibrous tissues that connect bones or cartilage, serving to support or strengthen joints. Ligamentum, or in Latin, a bandage, Latin origin, ligamentum, is a band of tissues that connect bones or viscera, for example, a peritoneum, to stretch a colorless membrane with a smooth surface, viscera and abdomen, etc., covered by peritoneum membrane, which is a type of ligament. Okay, students, slide number 11 shows different type of epithelial tissues. In the coming slide number 11, A is simple squamous epithelium. B indicates or shows simple columnar epithelium. C, mucus secreting simple columnar epithelium. D, compound epithelium made of many cell layers. E and F, simple columnar epithelium. G and H, stratified squamous epithelium, cornified and non-cornified or uncornified type of stratified squamous epithelium. K shows ciliated columnar epithelium. So this is slide number 11, in which A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H and K are just labeled, and I have just described all these what you call different type of epithelial tissue. Dear students, slide number 3, and that is after this slide, shows bone components. A, B, C show different type of blood cells. N shows bone as a rigid strong matrix of protein with crystalline deposit of calcium and magnesium salts. D, E, F and G show different type of connective tissues. K, L and M show different type of cartilaginous. So this is the 13 number of tissues and different type of bone tissues are which have been described right now. And in the next slide we see again more what you call different type of tissues are shown in slide number 11 and 15. 11 I have described just right now a few moments back. So 15, slide number 15 shows description of different epithelial and nervous tissues. A shows anterior neuron cells of spinal cord, B shows brain cell of cerebral cortex, C Purkinje cells of the cerebellum, D shows sympathetic neuron cells. This is, dear students, different type of nervous tissues and nerve cells, A, B, C, D, and description of A, B, C, D together here in the left corner below. You can read it and take notes easily. Now, as prokaryotic versus eukaryotic chromosomes. Chromosomes are related to the spindle fibers, which are also proteinaceous, and so a pair of homologous chromosome synapted together during synapsis is shown here. It is not included particularly any sort of tissues, however it is included. As you see, during cell divisions there are spindle fibers and related components of the mitotic or meiotic cell divisions. So mitotic apparatus, collectively the esters, spindle, centrioles and microtubules of a dividing cell is called mitotic spindle or mitotic apparatus. Especially chromosomes, esters, spindle fibers, centrioles, and all these elements together makes spindle or mitotic apparatus or apparatus of mitotic cell divisions. Chromosome structure and composition. Frederick and W. Fleming and Beeden had discovered chromosomes, and they also found that numbers of chromosomes in each cells of an organism of any species is constant. For example, every human somatic cells or body cell has 46 chromosomes, and every germs or sex cells, for example sperms or egg cells, has a half number, that is 23 number of chromosome in sperm or egg. DNA interacts with histones protein to form nucleoprotein complex called as chromonimeta. Thread-like network of chromonimeta of chromosome is called as chromatin or material of chromosome. Nucleosome. Under electron microscope, chromatin looks like beads on a string of thread. So an association of DNA and histone proteins, that is H2A protein, H2B protein, H3 and H4 proteins make up chromatin called as nucleosome. Many nucleosomes are linked in a chromatin strand. Autosomes are chromosome other than sex chromosome. Bone. Study of bone is called as osteology. Osteocytes are bone cells. Matrix of the bones are impregnated with certain salts such as calcium phosphate, sodium carbonates and magnesium phosphates, which give the bone rigidity and hardness. Spongy cancellous bone consists of bony plates and bars filled with bone marrows. Long bones as femurs etc. are example of spongy bones. Compact or periosteal bones is a hard solid mass without any space and is covered by dense layers of connective tissues. The periosteum, with which tendons and muscles are attached to the bones. Fluid-filled tissues. Matrix or serum is in liquid form in which blood cells, all type of blood cell, RBC, WBC and platelets float, for example blood and lymph. Blood is also called as sanguous. Latin sang, and in Germany, in German language, Hemia, the origin of the word blood. Blood is a type of connective tissues with a fluid matrix called plasma, in which blood cells are suspended. The fluid that circulates through the heart, arteries, capillaries, and veins, carrying nutrients and oxygen to the body. Erythrocytes or red blood corpuscles is of 8 micron in diameters. Erythrocyte carry oxygen from environment, bind it to the hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin and transport this oxygen to different tissues. White blood cell or leukocytes are white cells which act as scavengers, killing and eating pathogens at infection sites, and are produced from stem cells in the bone marrow called as hematopoiesis, or process of blood synthesis or blood genesis. There are different type of blood cells shown in the slide number 25. Granulocytes include neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, and agranulocytes include lymphocytes and monocytes corpuscles. Thrombocytes or platelets are blood clotting cells during injury to stop bleeding due to injury at external or internal surface of the body. So, dear student, in this slide we see that spindle apparatus or mitotic apparatus showing chromosomes, ester rays, spindle fibers, centriole in pair, and microtubules, kinetochores, microtubules, kinetochores, all these collectively called as mitotic apparatus. In the second small diagram in the middle above, you see the chromosome structure of ultrastructure of chromosomes making nucleosomes and other just packed structure or with protein octamers, that is a nucleosome showing all these 4 octamers, 8 octamers packed with DNA, 2 winding of DNA, and each nucleosome is linked by linker DNA. And below this slide's diagram below shows loose connective tissues, also called as areolar connective tissues, is the packing materials of the body that anchors blood vessels, nerves, and body organs at different levels, and wandering macrophages that phagocytize pathogens or damaged cells of the body. The different fiber types include collagen fibers and thin elastic fibers formed of protein elastin. Now you see some more different types of elements in the blood of the mammals. In the small sub-diagrams above here, cross-section of the long bone showing both spongy and compact osseous tissues. You study yourself. And again above, the second small diagram shows a mammalian red blood cell and its structure. Below there are different elements of the bloods of mammals, and on the basis of staining they are just called as basophils, eosinophils with stained with eosin stain or color, neutrophils not stained by any type of dyes or stains, erythrocytes, lymphocytes, and monocyte blood cells. Okay, dear students, here the process of what you call blood clotting or stopping of injury to stop bleeding. Injury, rupture of the blood vessels at the surface of the body, on the general surface of the body. Injury of damage, the blood is oozing out, it is bleeding. Blood vessels around wound constrict to reduce blood flow to the damaged areas, and activated platelets sticks to the injury site. Blood vessels constrict and platelets comes and concentrate to make a mesh or network of the proteinous fibers. Platelets become sticky and clump together to form platelets plug on the surface of the mouth of the injury. Platelets and damaged tissues release clotting factors, fibrin, fibrinogens, and other thrombin, prothrombins, etc. Blood clotting mechanism to form fibrins, which act like a mesh of the net to stop bleedings and seal the what you call mouth of the injury and repair afterwards, healing up by process of healing. Now in this slide you see different lineage of blood cells, right from stem cells, hematocytoblast cells, stem cells, undifferentiated cells, that is divided into common myeloid cells and common lymphocyte cells, and afterwards subdivided to forms different type of blood cells. Last at the bottom is shown a macrophage cells, which phagocytes the pathogens or other foreign particles entering in the body, and this macrophage acts as defense or immune cells in the body of. Okay, dear students, listen and read these lectures time and again to prepare for your exam. Attentive listening, writing, and reading are the three collective ways of learning and memorization. Nothing like good preparation with much hard work. So this is my message or advice to you all, to work hard during these hard days of coronavirus, so that you can compensate all these crisis days after opening of the college. Okay, thank you very much and good luck.